Hey everybody, it's Jasmine, your brow expert. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for allowing me to be your brow expert. And you know what? Some of you guys have come by and gotten your brows shaped by me, and it's been a pleasure shaping your brows, giving you your best brow, and definitely sharing as much tips as I have for you. So I still love shaping eyebrows at the Anastasia Beverly Hills Salon. I've been there for almost 25 years, so clearly I still love it. So thank you for stopping by. And some of you guys have thought about coming. Please do so. Make your appointment. So let's get to the brows. Clearly they're uneven, right? And I think I consider myself a bit of an expert when it comes to uneven eyebrows. And the model that you're going to see clearly has very uneven eyebrows. And I'm going to point out a few things as to why her brows are uneven. And you can clearly see that my brows are very uneven. Part of it is because I put concealer right here to make it more uneven. But actually, naturally, this one is a little bit lower naturally. But I have an old brow tattoo, which you guys know, right, by now? And I put a little bit of concealer over it. So my color is going to come off really weird. So please don't judge me for that. It's going to be about the shape, which is what I am most of the time here for. Aside from like color suggestions and tattoo artists that you can go to. And so check out my old videos because I do help you in that. So yeah, the model, I'm going to point out a few things. I'm going to show you some tips that I know you guys could benefit, even if you don't think you have uneven eyebrows. But you know what? I think we all do. So I know that some of the tips I share with you today, you can learn and definitely share this with other people that you know can benefit from this. So without further ado, let's get to this model. So uneven eyebrows, right? Very uneven. Right here, part of the reason why it's lower is because that bone structure, her bone kind of comes out a little bit. So it pulls the eye down and pulls the brow bone down. So that's why it's kind of going down further. So that white outline is showing you that that is where I'm going to mainly tweeze and shape. So she doesn't need some of that hair underneath. And so we're going to raise that up by tweezing and waxing and applying some extra color underneath there. And I'll tell you what that's going to be in just a second. So right here, I'm actually applying the makeup on top of the makeup she came in with, and not exaggerating, but just penciling in darker that good eyebrow, the higher eyebrow, just to show you how uneven they are. So you can make it close to that higher eyebrow, but you don't want to make it so exact because her bone structure is different, right? And she doesn't have that much hair. Actually, she doesn't have any hair up there in that skin area. So you want to be more realistic. Now I'm penciling in, if she were to have hair up there, how much more even that is. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm not going to obviously add hair, but I'm going to certainly raise that color to make it look a little bit more even. Just make it look a little bit more realistic. Yeah, I'm going to shape her eyebrows in just a second. But just to reiterate again, this is the pencil, the makeup she had when she came in. I told her, and I'll tell all of you, that if you're used to penciling or filling your eyebrows a certain way, go ahead and do so. Look at yourself in overall, and then make those adjustments. Add the color in the area that's lower, and don't add or take away the color that was already put in that was too low. So that's the best way to make those adjustments. Now here the brows have been shaped. You can see right here how nice that looks. Now if you didn't look at the other side of the eyebrow, this one actually looks pretty good, the one that's a little lower. But obviously you're looking at your overall face, and the good brows making the other brow look not so good. But after it's waxed and shaped, it looks, I think, pretty good, right? It doesn't look that much different now from the other side of the eyebrow, because mainly when she penciled her eyebrows, she just really went inside the eyebrows and didn't really pay much attention to the height or the part that's lower. Well, that's where I come in. I'm going to show you by doing this highlighter first is going to make a big difference. I often say to you guys and to all my clients, try this technique out first. Helps out a lot. And you know what? This can also show you whether you want to tweeze some of those hairs below off or not. Of course, I exaggerate a little bit and added some color underneath my tattoo, so that way I can make it as realistic on myself. But again, my color is going to be very different. So that highlighter is everything for that lower eyebrow, because just adding that light color opens her eyes up, right? Just kind of gives that little nice lift. So we're going to pretend that we're going to wax this eyebrow off by adding a little bit of highlighter underneath. And you know what? Try this out, you guys. Do this first. Maybe you're going to see that you don't need to tweeze, or you do need to. So if you're a little nervous about getting that shaped or tweezing your own hair off too much, try this technique out first. Now, I always use this brush because it's one of my favorite brushes. You guys know that by now, right? Because this really helps you to be a professional. It really gets in there and just makes it very precise. You could do this before, after, during. This is something to always have handy. Okay, so that, just look at the difference already from the other side. It just looks more like open, cleaner, more polished. So this is definitely not only opens up the eyes, but it kind of covers some things that you want to cover. So that's definitely a good tip. Oh, let me do the other side. So obviously you want to do a little bit on the other side, but not as much as I did here. I purposefully went a little higher here into the eyebrow. In your case, maybe hair. Here, I just went a little bit. Now, I'm doing powder first, and I'll tell you why in just a second. I just went a little lower here, not too much into it. So the reason I did the powder, because I love the angle brush, because it's nice and sharp, right? So the brush will just kind of create an outline for me. If you want something that's more precise, see, I always hold the brush this way because I want the brush to go right at that edge where the highlighter is and where the hair is. So I'm not really that ambidextrous, but I'm going to try. So I'm just going right at the base here. And it just makes it so much easier because you're creating that outline with that brush. And keep this around because you're going to go back to this in just a second. Now, I don't typically use a pencil over my concealer because it comes out crazy. But in this case, I'm going to do that. Try to attempt that. Now here, I'm going high again. But this time, notice that I'm staying a little bit closer to her brow line. You want to go a little higher, but you don't want to go that much higher because it's just going to look artificial. And you want the color to stay on as long as possible, right? So it's going more on skin than hair. So that's why you want it closest to your hair. Just even by putting makeup right here, kind of raises the brow up anyway. So you don't have to go that much higher, just a little bit. So I'm just going to go a tiny bit. And I want you to see, I'm using a dark color. I want you to see that I'm going up higher than what I naturally have. So I'm not making a shape, just going higher than my brow. Following the brow curve, really. So, and underneath here, remember, this side is naturally higher. I actually went purposefully just a tiny bit lower, but not by much. You don't want to go too low because then that thick, nice full eyebrow is going to look even thicker. And it's just going to keep further away from the other sides. Look further away. See, so you just want to go a tiny bit, not too much, just a little bit. But this is your main spot right here. It's already turning a little gray because it's mixing up with my concealer. But you notice that little difference right there? That's how high I went, but not too high. Yeah, just a little high. Okay, so there. Now, she obviously doesn't need that much height on the one that naturally is higher, but you do need some color in there. So that way there's a cohesive look to the eyebrow with the color that is. So if you've got color in here, you want to put some color here, but not by much, just a little bit. A tiny bit here. Okay, so now this is the easy part where filling inside. I always say this is the easy part because you're filling inside that little gap area now. So that's why it's easy, right? You don't have to create a shape. You're going inside that area. And that's just how easy it is, you guys. Just so simple. Keep it inside that little outline in your eyebrow. And if you end up going too high, that's okay because you can always correct that later. So just a tiny bit, making such a big difference. You guys already see the difference. It's much higher now, if you can remember what it looked like before. So focus on that lower side as much as you can. When I say focus, I don't mean like a ton of color and just press really hard. Just focus in how high you can go where it doesn't look silly, really. Okay, so again, you just want to blend that color in that area where you already have it naturally high, but you're blending the color in there. And I'm listing all the colors down below. This is all by Anastasia Beverly Hills, by the way. So if you're thinking, I need to get this product, it will be tagged. Okay, so don't worry. And I always like the ends to be a little darker. If you guys have been following me, you know that I always like the ends to be a tiny bit darker. Only because, I don't know, I just like that look. And that's where you put a little bit of heavier pressure towards the end here. And you always know that. Notice that her ends are nice and curved, but it's not too low. You don't want to curve it too down because then it's going to look like this. You want to make it look like that. So that's important. So heavier pressure on the ends, and that's it, really. And you know what? It always gives it a nice polished look, in my opinion, especially when you're making adjustments like this eyebrow. Here's where I said to hold on to that brush. That powder, you go back to it and go over that pencil, but you're applying even less pressure than you did earlier because you're just patting that powder on top of that pencil to just set it in. This is going to help the pencil, in my opinion, to stay on much longer. Now, if you're really oily, yes. Can it come off? Yes. But you know what I like to do sometimes when I get real shiny? I just grab a tissue and I just pat over my eyebrows and my skin, of course, and then it just takes away that oiliness and it doesn't smudge off much of my makeup. So that's important. Always have a tissue on hand and think of doing that and you get in the habit. And so that's so much easier than reapplying some makeup because then that can build up and not look very good, especially like when you first had it done. So look at that eyebrow. It looks pretty good so far, right? But that's how you might be thinking, oh, I went just a little too high. I'm going to purposely go a little bit too high here. You're thinking, well, how do I calm that down? Well, that's why that beautiful brush 18 comes in and you're just going over. Like right here, I'm just going over that, just lowering a tiny bit. I'm actually also just straightening that out a tiny bit because if you can notice the other side is really, I think it's a little too flat, but she just naturally has it growing that way. I don't want to change too much. Okay, this is something I want her to be able to do as well. So I'm just tweaking a little bit. So if you went too high, just use a brush like this and just push it down and just go right over it and it should lower that. So that's a great way to make further adjustments if you feel like, oh, I went too high. And this one, in my opinion, is a little too high, but hey, that's what this guy is for. It helps soften everything. And the brow gel is so important because she does have hair, right? It just lays down. And the clear brow gel is not only going to keep the hair up, but it's going to actually ensure the color to stay on even that much longer. It also makes the hair look thicker because it has fiber. So think of it as like a setting gel. So that, again, helps a lot. Even after the gel, though, you can also go back with the pencil and make a little bit of adjustments here and there. And it's just so pretty. And I'm going to ask you, do you remember what it looked like before? I sometimes forget what it looks like before, and I've done these eyebrows. I do her eyebrows on a regular basis, and so it's cool for me to always see the before and after. Who doesn't like before and afters, right? I love them, which is why I think that's partly why I got into doing all this digital before and afters. Look at that. So good, right? It's got the before, like that's how she came in with her own makeup. And then, of course, after with the makeup gone and it being wax and shaped. And then after, where there's that makeup. But did you notice that the front of her eyebrows isn't so dark? It just gets like light, medium, and then dark. It's just so pretty, right? I think it is. And then here's just your before and after right here. And such a big difference as far as the top area. It's not perfectly leveled, but it's pretty close. And that's the most important thing I want you to take away with today, is to get it as close as possible, but not too close. Because again, then your face is going to start looking funny if you make it so perfect. And then you have to walk around without any facial expressions. So I hope you got something out of this. Please let me know that you did. The comments are great. I'm trying to answer as many as I can. Excuse me if I can't get to everyone. But yeah, so like I said, the products will be tagged and listed. And thank you for your time. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And look out for my next video. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you.